welcome.
What's up, everyone?
Welcome to the StreamYard Spotlight Show. I'm your co-host, Dana Benz.
And I am your co-host, Kelsey Benz.
Co-host number 2, and we already have several people in the comments. Hi, Mike and Tristan.
Hi.
Everyone's joining us. If you don't mind letting us know where you're tuning in from. Oh, Michael Daniels is here, per usual. He was a guest on a few weeks ago. For those of
Michael.
you who don't know what the StreamYard Spotlight show is, we do these shows weekly on the StreamYard Facebook page, on the StreamYard community group page, and we spotlight a member of our community, someone who's using StreamYard maybe in a unique way, or they're really good at certain features about StreamYard. So we like to take this time to just put the spotlight on them and get them to answer some questions about how they're using StreamYard. So without further ado, our guest today name is John Valines. Kelsey, did I get that right?
Valines, I think.
Valines, okay.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show, John. Thank you for joining us.
John, hi.
Thanks for having me. Valines, you were so close.
Valines, I know.
And I even practiced before the show.
Well, John, thanks so much for being on the show with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, it is. So tell us, who are you and how are you using StreamYard?
Well, my name is as we've gone over thoroughly, my name is John Valines, and I work for a company here in Orlando, Florida called SAK Comedy Lab. That's SAK. And I've also worked with a cappella groups, Toxic Audio, and various things. And SAK, the pandemic hit us, and it hit a lot of live theaters very hard. We had to simply close our doors because it's, it wasn't safe to have a live experience like that. So our artistic director, Emily Fontano, immediately decided she wanted to reach out and stay in touch with our audience. And we started by doing Facebook Live and that sort of thing, just these little check-ins. And as that started to grow and we wanted to be a little more creative with it, that's when we discovered the StreamYard. And I hadn't known about it. It was actually as Orlando Pride, the organization here in Orlando that had been using StreamYard for some of their events, and they kind of turned us on to this platform. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So how did your sort of live streaming shows evolve from when you started using Facebook Live at the start of quarantine and COVID to when you then transitioned to StreamYard?
We tried to do kind of a phony gag telethon thing where we wanted to have some guests and we wanted to be able to cut. We just wanted a little more production. And so with that, we actually used Zoom first. We did a Zoom meeting through OBS. And for anybody that doesn't know OBS, it's what game streamers use. It's that sort of thing. It's a whole other software. So we're using that to then get to Facebook Live. And we got through our first one somehow miraculously. The second one, it crashed and burned, and I mean like computationally crashed.
Oh my gosh,
terribly! And we had to
good
bail.
In a live show.
No, and so it was at that point we were like, we need something else, and we had seen Orlando Pride use StreamYard, so we moved and let StreamYard handle all that computation, all the encoding. Nice. So that's kind of where it started, and then once people saw what we were doing, once other performers in our company saw what we were doing there, then the ideas started to flow. Oh, let's do a game night, and hey, let's do a virtual date night. And then I became very, very busy for the next few months. We did live streams every night at 7 p.m., 7 days a week. So a few of those would still be live check-ins, just one of our performers on the phone kind of saying, hey, how are you doing? And that sort of thing. Yeah. But it began to grow more and more, more and more of them were StreamYard, like, events or shows.
Sure. Yeah. So you're saying the shows you guys were putting on started out as sort of a way to just connect with the audience. Yeah. And so it'd be like a Q&A or something?
It was some of them were, hey, how are you doing? I'm looking at the comments and I'm going to answer questions.
Okay.
We had one that was like Emily's initial sort of check-in, was just to connect, ask me whatever you want to ask me, and we'll talk. And then we had our friend Brett Walden, one of our performers, did a sort of behind the scenes into the mind of an improviser thing. He would set his camera up and just
Cool.
talk about it and take questions. And
Yeah.
that was kind of a more intellectual. What we decided right away with these things was we couldn't just do an improv show. Improv, and we were talking about a cappella earlier, those things are very difficult to translate into broadcast.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
we didn't want to.
You don't have the feedback of all your
Right.
viewers, your audience.
Yeah, that live energy. It's
Yeah.
That's
that we rely on.
That's half the improv.
Yeah. And then there was a question of, do we set up a camera and all stand 6 feet apart from each other and try to do a show
yeah.
that way? So,
Right.
so we
Or with
decided,
masks on camera.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody's in their bubble.
Yeah.
So that was where I felt like Emily was very, very wise. And she said, we're not even going to attempt that. We don't want to try that. We've seen some other theater companies and improv troupes try to do that.
Yeah.
And so the idea was just, let's utilize this window that we're in, and what can we do to keep engaged and just to keep in touch with our audience and let them know that we're coming back, because we had a future ahead of us. We knew it wasn't over. We just knew we were on a break.
Sure.
So, and it's worked really well. I mean, a lot of people are excited to come back once we reopen.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and I love that it seems like you're able to interact with your audience in a different way, even though you can't gather in the theaters in the traditional way you would. It seems like you're able to connect with them almost on a more personal level just by doing these Q&A live shows that they can participate in. So how has StreamYard helped sort of grow your reach in that way?
I think with performance and what we do, it's sort of like, even if you think of movie stars and that sort of thing, as you get to know them, you want to kind of follow them more, and so we gave kind of a personal look at who we were as humans and as people. And I think that really, that sort of builds a connection that once we're open and live, you want to go see those humans that, not just these performers that are
them. Yeah,
right
on a more personal level. And I think
Exactly.
we've noticed that too with more and more like people from TV who are now going live on StreamYard just to connect with their fans and their audience, and it's such a more real, like you get to experience them in a more real way. And so I think it makes you feel closer to those people, like everyone at SAK who might be kind of just a performer in the viewer's eyes, but now they're getting to know them, like seeing them perform in their living room or do a Q&A in the living room or something. I think the viewers really like that real aspect of it.
Yeah, and that's what we relied on. That's what we wanted to offer, was just this sort of, hey, we have a minute now. Let's let you get to know us as people.
Yeah.
Totally. Michael Daniels says, I would love to see the games. So you mentioned that you're doing a sort of night game show. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and how you developed that?
Yeah, it's funny. I just now see in the comments, Jay Hopkins is one of our performers, and he came up with the idea to do a game night. He is a game fanatic. I mean board games. He doesn't do video games. We're talking board games and game shows and that sort of thing. And so he put together sort of a match game where we used a Vonage line, so somebody could call in, and he would have a category, and the call-in person would write down, or would think about her answers or his answers to whatever that category was, and then match them up with people that we had on the screen. I'm not explaining it well, but it's he played a couple of games. He did a trivia night. That sort of, so they're not really necessarily improv based, but it's our improvisers and our performers that are hosting and doing these other things that you get to play along. It's like, come hang out with me in my living room. We'll play some trivia,
That's fun. And it was live, right? Everything live is improv in a sense.
Right. That's why everybody should take improv classes.
Yes, I second that.
Yeah.
It helps in all aspects.
Recommend that. Yeah. It would help to be on StreamYard shows to be good at improv.
John, you mentioned that for the game show, you had a Vonage line, like people could call in. How did that work? How did you integrate that with StreamYard?
Like this.
Okay. So you just literally had your phone. No, that's great. Yeah.
I could do it now. I mean, because now I have, with my sound device, I could I could integrate it better. But at the time we were scrambling, and so many things became suddenly unavailable. Like even getting a sound card became difficult. So
Right.
we just had a single Vonage line that we could promote, and then I would change whose phone it would ring. So if it had to ring Chris's phone during the telethon, or Jay's phone during the game night, and we would just do our best to hear the person. I mean,
That's
it's very
really
low,
cool.
super low tech, that one.
But you made it work. I mean, that's dope.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that was half of the charm, is us trying to figure out how to do this with not being able to even order from Amazon, like a webcam or a YouTube, USB mic or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I think that. Sorry. Go ahead, Dana.
No, I was just gonna say I wanted to talk about how you are engaging with the viewers, with all the people who are watching this. Like, what is that engagement like, since they're not like your audience normally while they're live in person? How are they like interacting with you? Are they the call-in people? Are they able to participate live with you, or are they in your comment section? Like, what is that looking like to your audience?
It was mostly comment section. We would encourage people to, I would start throwing up comments, just kind of how you guys were at the beginning of this. I would start throwing up comments right towards the beginning, just to say, hey, you're here with us. We can see you, via the comment section. We had the call-in thing. We really only did that for a few shows. And that was goofy because we just put the number out for everybody. Anybody and everybody could call in.
That's awesome.
That could be bad.
And I would kind of sneakily, it depended on the show, but like the telethon, I'm just rolling my eyes because it was such a goofball of a show. but that was kind of an anything goes sort of situation. So I would actually sneakily message the link to other performers and just have them drop in by surprise, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We had, the call in. Yeah, really, it's we paid a lot of attention to the comments and we interacted that way.
Yeah. So
we took suggestions that way
on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will, and of course that was because part of my job during the streams was for me more to be a producer in the background, so I wouldn't be on screen ever. I was handling comments and overlays, switching the views.
So you were like the stage manager.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that freed up our performers, so they weren't looking down, they weren't scrolling through comments. They could really kind of stay focused and engaged. Right. And so it's some censoring of what you're going to put up, making sure it's supportive. And some shows we actually took suggestions. We had a bit where if you donated $50 to SAK Comedy Lab, Emily would sing you a song, and you'd put that up in the suggestions, and we'd pick. We had a couple of groups that used those suggestions. The trick was always the 20-second delay, because you have to set up what you're asking for, and there's that built-in. That's not even StreamYard. That's Facebook and YouTube.
Just that
so
latency.
We'd have to, figure out how do we fill that little bit of time as the suggestions come in.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Just circling back to what you said about how you're backstage sort of running the show. That's one of my favorite parts about StreamYard, is that, someone can be just acting as like a producer or a stage manager and be completely invisible and be backstage and sort of facilitate everything so that the performers and the people who are on screen can just focus on what they're doing. So that's my personal favorite feature of StreamYard, is the fact that you can have someone else in your account just sort of like running things in the background, because it really does help.
It makes a big difference, and especially in focus. Someone in the comments is mentioning doodles for dollars. This was a thing where we had 3 or 4 artists, two of which drew on paper and 2 of which drew digitally. So through screen sharing, we were able to follow along what the artist was doing on the screen, and then they would have a camera on them, and to be able to swap in and out and all that, it really kind of took a lot of focus. We had a host, going in between the artists and interviewing and that sort of thing, and just going, okay, now we're going to Bob, and we got to see Bob's art, and we've got to see Bob, and we've got to talk, so it's been super beneficial just to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is also why I'll just point out that I have no special like background. I have a microphone head back there, but I'm,
Yeah.
breaking all the rules by having my, guest room bed in the back, and because I'm usually not in this, I'm not in this window.
Yeah.
I'm in that little one that's down there.
Sure,
You're
yeah.
backstage. Yeah. That's so funny. Your mic quality, like your audio quality and your camera quality is very good for just being
yeah.
the manager person.
Yes.
Well, thanks. I do some podcast production and voiceover stuff, and so this isn't like,
yeah.
it's all not top notch stuff, but
Yeah. What kind of mic is it?
this is what is it? A MX. See, now you put me on the spot, and I can't remember what microphone I have.
That's okay.
MXL 770, something like that. It's about it's like a
Okay.
$90 microphone, but it sounds pretty okay.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. It's quite noise canceling and yeah.
Yeah, and that a lot of that has to do with the device. It's going into an Apollo Twin X, and
Okay.
that is not a necessarily cheap device, but it's well worth it if you're into this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Very
We have
cool.
quite a few
know,
users using
nerd.
Apollos, I think.
Yeah, they're great devices. They're expensive. They're sort of the Macintosh of the sound card world, but
Yeah.
they really kind of give you a lot for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to talk about like what devices people are using because I know for me, like I wasn't really live streaming that much at all before we were all on lockdown. So I'm really learning. I think a lot of our people who are using StreamYard too are learning like what's the best devices, and
Right.
everyone's buying new webcams and new microphones just to accommodate this new lifestyle. So it's fun to learn what everyone's using.
Yeah, I'm a live sound guy mostly. So whether it's a cappella or working at SAK, so going to home studio, I've never been all that interested because I like doing live theater and live sound. So it's been a learning curve for me, but it's been fun because it's still all the same ideas and stuff,
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm trained as an actor and I do live shows. And so moving to on a computer was like super weird for me as well.
Yeah.
But it's fun. There's a lot you can do. You
Right.
know?
It's definitely good to learn. It's just a whole nother world. It feels like it
Yeah.
would be the same thing, like we have an audience, we have like 50 people watching us live and everyone's going to be watching the replay, but it's so much different than a live audience in a theater.
And there's a lot of streams now. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people went into this world all at the same time. So in order to try to stick out here and there, you want to have a nice mic or some kind of, ring light or whatever, which I just
Totally.
knocked over. But suddenly I'm way darker. But, we just start to think about what that production, as I'm literally like adjusting my light, just thinking about what that production value is,
Yeah.
and that's something that we talked a lot about at SAK. And as far as what we were presenting, the live check-ins were fantastic because it's so personal, but we just also wanted to offer more. We wanted to put more thought into just the actual production of what we were doing. So, and mostly that was on everybody else.
Yeah.
I created the graphics and overlays and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's good to think, just a good thing to think about.
Yeah, totally.
So we talked just a little bit about how your theater's kind of coming out of lockdown slowly, like starting to reopen. So what does that mean for your streaming? Like, what does that mean for your live streams that happen every night at 7?
Right now we've taken a break for right now for a couple of reasons. There were other voices that needed to be heard over hours, so we stepped aside for that.
Yes.
And we went into phase 2, which for us meant we could open our doors again at a limited capacity. So right now it's all hands on deck, going, knocking off the cobwebs and going, what is this like to be outside again? Getting used to all that.
Yeah.
So we've just kind of completely said, let's just take a break. We are going to continue streaming. We loved what we were doing. The audience really got a kick out of it. So we're going to be looking at, I doubt we're going to be doing 7 days a week. But we will
That's
very
a lot
likely
of
will.
streaming.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But we're going to be looking at some form of regular schedule and a calendar where people can know what shows to expect. We have some shows in mind that we want to continue on.
Good.
but I can't give it all away just yet. But I don't know exactly
Maybe
when we're
game
going to come back. But game night is definitely one that we want, especially since Jay's in. I see you there, Jay, in the Jay Hopkins in the comments.
You have a lot of friends in the comments. A lot of
Yay!
people, hopefully, there are people who work at SAK.
There's some,
tuning in.
there are a few, some who used to work at SAK. We did a show called SAK Backtracks. SAK has been around since 1977, so we have a whole series on people who are with us from the beginning and people who are with us through the 90s. And as I see Matt LaRue on there, I don't know what he's referring to because I'm not watching all of these, but anyway. So we definitely have content that we want to get out there for sure.
Oh, is that Emily you can
that
pay her
is
to
Emily.
do a song? You can donate to get her to sing you a song?
Yeah.
Game night. Yay.
Hey, Emily, thanks
Hi,
for tuning
Emily.
in.
Send us. She's telling us, I think, what the shows are going to be. She's saying game night for sure. A show called Designated Debaters.
Oh, good.
Good.
That's Designated Debaters. Let me tell you about this real quick. It's people dressed up in superhero outfits debating things that you suggest from the comments.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Improv, right?
Picard
funny.
versus Kirk. All that. Just
Are they
imagine
like
the most
in
nerdiest.
character of
Oh,
the?
yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
And it's a drinking game.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Even better.
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna have to tune into that one.
That's so
yeah. I see
funny.
Chase in there. Speaking of Chase, Pajittles, who's in the comments. He's the reason I bought this Apollo twin. I've spent a lot of money because of Chase, but he's
Oh no.
Chase.
he's also somebody. He's doing a lot of work for theaters and helping theaters translate their art to this art form.
Nice.
And he's been doing a lot of work with that. So,
That's great.
live, like I said before, live theater and translating it to this sort of broadcast medium, it has its challenges. And I don't think, we've solved all of them.
Right.
But I think we're making some headway, and StreamYard's definitely one of those platforms that has helped us. It's alleviated so much of the technical headache for us that we've been able to just focus on the product, which is great.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
That's so nice. Wow. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you on the StreamYard Spotlight, just to get a quick spotlight on the shows that you're doing. It's been really fun having you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I enjoy watching. I enjoy the StreamYard community too. It's a lot of fun to take part in that. So I encourage anybody who's interested in these sort of things to check it out. The developers are so accessible. I love that too, that they're kind of there listening to us, and
They
been great.
They do their town hall every single week to engage with their comment section too, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for doing this. It's nice to see you, and keep it up. I love it.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got
Thank
it.
you so much, and we'll be sure to tune in to what SAK is doing outside of lockdown.
Absolutely.
We're
Let me
all
just
out.
as simple as facebook.com/SAK Comedy Lab, and it's SAK.
SAK.
Great.
That's where you can find our streams and just information about the theater in general.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Well, John,
Yeah, you
thanks
got it.
again. And thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of the StreamYard Spotlight. We will see you next week. Bye, everyone.